Hey guys, it's Chelsea, and this week's video is brought to you by Wix. Professional, beautiful websites for anyone. Create your own website for free by going to wix.com/go/TFD. And this week, we are going to talk all about your grocery bill. If you are like most Americans, what you spend on food every month comes really second only to what you're spending on your rent or your mortgage. And if you're like me, it's probably an even more shameful portion of your budget. And while it's not always like super frivolous things like tons of takeout when I could cook or going out to eat all the time, it's often stuff that I could totally do without. And while I don't mind going higher end on good culinary staples or springing for special ingredients that will help me recreate the dishes I love, nothing gets my goat more than when food goes bad because I didn't eat it in time, or I get duplicates of another thing that I had just opened, or basically waste money totally frivolously at the grocery store. Chances are, no matter what your grocery habits, you could stand to work down your bill a little bit. And if you're anything like me, you're probably often feeling a bit yeesh at how high it often is. So here are 9 reasons your grocery bill may be too high and what to do about it. Number 1 is a lack of planning. Obviously, we know that shopping with a list is one of the best ways to guarantee that you will get what you need in the order that you need it without going overboard. But that's not the only element of planning for grocery shopping. There are a couple really important additional steps. Number 1, being really good about meal planning within reason. I am someone who would never want to meal plan 6 nights a week or eat the same thing day after day or really calibrate my life around a super regimented eating schedule. I like being a little bit experimental and coming up with things on the fly and defaulting to leftovers when I want to and not really being so rigid about it. But having at least 2 or 3 meals a week that are distinctly planned out and prepared for, as well as knowing roughly when you're going to be eating those leftovers or freezing them, is crucial to making sure that every night isn't sitting at your desk at 5:30 being like, oh crap, I have to go home and make myself something to eat. What do I eat? At which point you stop by the store, and because you haven't prepared a list or taken the time to look at what you already have, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff that you don't even need. And who knows, you may end up by the time you actually get home, because it was such a nightmare in the train, be like, whatever, I'm ordering food online. Making sure that there are a few nights to anchor you is crucial. But beyond just creating a list for when you go to the store, you want to make sure that your pre-store activities are on point. That means, number 1, doing a really thorough look at what you already have. Not just to make sure that you don't buy duplicates, but also to make sure that you don't have anything that's about to go bad that you should use, or ingredients that would easily be swapped in for another one you are going to buy, or essentially not totally basing your groceries off of a neutral playing field when you have plenty of food at home. A quick sweep of the kitchen will fix that. And lastly, and most importantly, please do not shop while hungry or stressed out. This is going to be a time when you are going to justify all sorts of purchases you don't need and often really bad for you food. And no, I don't mean bad for you as in some foods have emotional value and they're bad. I mean, they're just like completely nutritionally void and something you mostly want because you're really stressed out. Plan well, grocery well. Number 2 is not getting deals on staples. There are going to be staples that you'll always want on hand in your kitchen and that you'll be able to keep for a relatively long time, and should just be something that you are making sure to get when it's not as expensive. Things like rice and canned beans and vegetables and flour and sugar and all that stuff that can kind of live in your kitchen for when you need it and make up the backbone of various dishes. These are things that you shouldn't be buying just when you've completely run out of the item. These are things that you should be buying when you see them on sale, because you know that you're going to use them. Your list of things that you're constantly using may be a little different. For example, I probably go through like 7 bulbs of garlic a week, but whatever it is, make sure that you know that they're always kind of like the unspoken item on your list, and you should be getting them whenever you see a great deal on them. Buying only in times of necessity means you're kind of at the whim of the pricing of your grocery store. Be proactive. Number 3 is maybe you're a meataholic. Now, I eat meat, and while I definitely try to be as conscientious as possible about the kind of meat that I buy and how often I eat it or how central it is to the meals that I'm making, I'm definitely someone who can't sit here and claim that I have the high ground on this. I eat meat and I love it. But as the years have gone by, aside from just those ethical concerns, I've also become very budget conscientious about how expensive good meat is to include in a meal. I love a great steak, for example, but we definitely don't have a steak in this house more than once a month at the very most. It's usually closer to like once every 2 or 3 months, because if we're getting really, really beautiful steaks from a great butcher, that's going to be just as expensive as ordering a steak at a restaurant, basically. Being more conscientious about not making the meat the star of every meal means that you have less pressure to buy so much of it and can therefore be more focused on the quality of the smaller portions of meat you're buying. Plus, by learning to make other proteins the star of the plate, you can start to get much better at using those recipes and mastering those foods. Often we'll default to meat because that's what we grew up knowing as the center of our plate. We'll default to like a chicken noodle soup rather than a lentil and chickpea. Or we won't have learned how to properly season and cook those vegetables or those alternative proteins. It isn't just about saving money on the individual items of meat you're not buying. It's about changing what you feel is crucial to a meal so that you can start making more long-term good food choices and really vary your palette of what you're capable of making. Number 4 is fridge or freezer neglect. I'm gonna be honest, I did a total fridge and freezer clean out a couple of weeks ago, and I was a little embarrassed at what I saw. There were many different jars of things and containers of things that I just like tossed because like I'm not even gonna open up and see what kind of civilization is going on in there. I had no idea what it was from, or in some cases what it even was. There was also a good amount of wilted produce that I had let go to waste, as well as some leftovers in the freezers that were not properly labeled, so I didn't know if they were totally bad to eat or what the deal was. Basically, I was not using my fridge and freezer to their fullest potential, and that often led to a sensation of, I have no idea what to eat tonight, because in many cases I didn't know what I had. So I took that opportunity to totally clear everything out, make sure everything was super well organized and intuitive, as well as properly labeled. This is one of the easiest things to do with a Saturday afternoon that can have a huge impact on your food shopping and your food habits, because the more clear and organized your fridge and freezer are, the easier it is to just sort of automatically know what you have on hand, what's going bad, what needs to be eaten. And every day doesn't have to be such a start from zero struggle where you have to explore through all of the unknown territory in the back of your fridge. If you're not keeping good track of your fridge and freezer, there's a chance that every grocery trip is going to feel like a bit of an uphill battle. Number 5 is overstocking. It is not an Angela Lansbury mystery as to why when I opened my fridge, it was like overwhelmed with products that I couldn't even identify, and many perished ones. It's because I often have a way bigger eye than my stomach when it comes to what I'm buying at the grocery store. My husband and I are 2 normal adults, and we are certainly not going to eat the quantities of food items that I tend to buy. Now, to be clear, I always make big batches of food when I'm cooking a meal because I'm very good about storing and eating leftovers, with a few exceptions. But when I'm actually buying ingredients, I'll often do things like opt for the bigger jar of something when I know I'm not going to go through the whole jar in the time it will take for it not to go bad. I'll overbuy things like produce. Like the other day, I was like, it's Honeycrisp apple season, and so I bought so many Honeycrisp apples, and I cannot bake, so we're gonna have to figure out, we have an apple situation on our hands. But either way, getting a little overambitious about specific ingredients and overstocking your refrigerator can be just as big of an issue as barely stocking it at all. Refrigerators need adequate space to circulate air, so keeping it over full means the items won't be as cool as they need to, and the fridge will have to work harder to cool them down. It's also likely that you won't see things that you have when you just take a glance in the fridge before you go to the grocery store. And perhaps most importantly, it's very likely that a lot of these items will go bad before you have a chance to use them. There is a harmonious balance between overstocked and not stocked enough, and a good start is the video that we did way back in the day about the essential ingredients you'll want to keep in your kitchen. The more you can make sure that the basis of your kitchen is things that you will use again and again, the less likely you'll be to have a fridge that's a bit of chaos. Number 6 is one-time events. There are going to be a few exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, you shouldn't be cooking things that you can't overcook and then portion out to leave as leftovers. There are a few exceptions, but generally speaking, you shouldn't be making dishes at home that you can't make in some bulk and then freeze or portion out into leftovers. Aside from the fact that you're really not getting a lot of bang for your buck in terms of the work you're doing to create a meal, you're also going to be spending way more per item when you have to buy so little of it. So things that really really don't stay very well. For example, shellfish dishes or a perfectly cooked cut of steak should really be reserved for very special occasions, because no one wants to be eating 2-day-old clams at their desk. And a lot of people think that batch cooking is super depressing, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Especially if you're using freezing intelligently and making sure to portion out your meals, it just becomes a really convenient way to have your own dinners ready to go when you want them, rather than forcing yourself to eat the same thing 4 nights in a row. Rethinking how you approach each dish and making sure that you're building into that shopping list enough dishes to last you for a few different meal times, the more you can be sure that you're getting the most value for your dollar when you shop. And again, it's not just your dollar, it's the time you have to spend being in the kitchen, preparing things, cleaning up after yourself, doing dishes, etc. that really counts. I love to cook, and I don't want to be cooking every single night. So if cooking isn't something you love to do, making sure you're not obligated to do it super often is key. Number 7, ignoring the seasons. Do you grocery shop? Of course you do. Do you know what's in season right now? This is like on the news, like it's 11 o'clock. Do you know what's in season right now? No, but seriously, like I didn't know the other day when I went to the grocery store. I mean, it's like 90 degrees tomorrow here in New York, and it's, as I speak, October 1st. So I guess there's no seasons anymore, what with this climate change and all. But generally speaking, you can still kind of go in phases as to like what's good, what's gonna be on the less expensive side, what you'll be able to get more of, what's gonna taste better, etc. And I'm gonna be honest, even I, who cooks quite a lot, I really don't know what the actual seasons are for everything. Some things, of course, like the Honeycrisp apples the other day, but basically not much else, except for the obvious ones. Getting a lot more intimately familiar with what's in season, and more importantly, where your grocery store is sourcing from, other alternative means of sourcing fresh vegetables, can help you bring down the cost overall by really going to the source and getting local, fresh, sustainable stuff that doesn't have to travel on a semi-truck across half the world. Isn't just better for the environment, it's better for your wallet. There's a great site called Eat the Season, which will be especially helpful when it comes to meal planning, which will help you make a better list, which will help you shop better. Number 8, you don't have any back pocket recipes. So I definitely have several back pocket recipes that, like, if you put, you know, a Jeopardy timer on and a gun to my head, I could just like tell you those recipes straight out and not die. And the great thing about them is that I can go to the grocery store, do a little mental refresh of what's in my kitchen, because I try to stay on top of that as we go, and really just get the exact items I need to complete that dish. It means that even when I'm in a pinch, I can go to the grocery store and make a somewhat cogent set of purchases. It also means that when I'm racking my brain for what to cook that night, I have several go-tos that can provide a quick answer without potentially leaning into the temptation of ordering out. These dishes should be fairly inexpensive, they should be fairly easy to make, and easy to swap in and out ingredients if you happen to have a lot of things on hand. Things like soups, chilies, stews, pasta sauces are great for this because, again, often it's something that you don't have to put a ton of effort into. You can kind of let it simmer and jive on the stove. And, you know, if you don't have this kind of bean, you can swap in that kind of bean, or this leafy green for that leafy green. You want them to be versatile recipes that can fit neatly into your life, and make sure that you're never at a grocery store with an overwhelming feeling of, I literally don't know anything I can make tonight, without possibly just like standing awkwardly in the like dried goods aisle and like scroll through your phone and try to find something while everyone's like bumping around you with their grocery carts. Back pocket recipes mean you're always prepared. Number 9 is following deals too often. Yes, when you are buying things that you know you'll need or use, you should always make sure to get the best deal on them possible. But you shouldn't just buy things because they're on sale, even at the grocery store. It's easy to get lured in by those like big signs or bulk discounts or red labels, but the truth is, unless you know you are going to use that item, and be honest with yourself, especially about fresh produce, it's often likely that that item will just go to waste. And while some things are freezable, like most meat, for example, a lot of items really aren't. And so basically the second you buy that item, and if it's on sale, it's often because it's a little bit older to begin with, you're essentially putting a timer on yourself that you have to use that item. Especially when we're on a tight budget, it can feel like sale equals I should buy it right now. But the truth is, if you're buying something at a sale price that you wouldn't have bought otherwise and aren't going to use, You didn't save any money. You just spent extra unnecessary money, but slightly less of it. It's not a good deal. And often it's things like that that will lead you to have a fridge full of items that you can't remember or don't recognize or don't really have use for. Some good back pocket recipes means you'll never be caught off guard at the grocery store. If you've already mastered your back pocket recipes and are maybe ready to start sharing them, maybe with a great website, you should check out Wix. Having a solid web presence today is kind of like the 2010 equivalent of having a paper resume. It's just a given now, and it can seriously hold you back if you don't have one, or if you have one that's totally sloppy and outdated. If you're thinking about making a website, whether for a business or a hobby, or even just to display things like your resume, we recommend checking out Wix. It's a free platform that lets anyone build personalized professional websites. You don't need any coding experience, so even if you consider yourself a bit of an amateur in the web design department, you can use their beautiful templates to make your own website, whether for your professional life or just a great side project. You can see here an example of a site that we made to show you how it's done. Visit wix.com/go/TFD to create your own free Wix website. Or you can upgrade to a yearly premium plan with even more features. And you can get 15% off with our promo code TFD15. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to come back every Tuesday and Thursday for new and awesome videos. Bye!